welcome everybody to today's session. My name is Tengan Draksu. I come from the University of Lausanne EPFL. And today I'm going to talk about a short survey on business models of DeFi protocols. It's a qualitative paper written together with my co-author Javaksu from University College London. And today we're going to see the blockchain not from the security or scalability point of view as we've seen these days, but rather we will focus on the tokens and crypto assets that are built on top of it. Hence, we will see the financial aspect of these tokens. And why business models? Business models because they define the growth plans, the cash statements of public companies, and this information is rather a key information for portfolio decisions making for big and small investors. And so they are for the crypto market assets. So this is the table of contents of today. It's very straightforward. I will start with the motivation of this paper. Then we will go through the treasuries and business models for different DeFi protocols. And then finally, we will conclude with a classical Q&A session. So we start with the motivation. So first of all, I will not go through the differences between decentralized finance and centralized finance, but I'd rather give a quickly definition of decentralized finance, which are just a bunch of smart contracts that are able to replicate financial services on the distributed ledger. So for example, lending and borrowing cash and money assets. So to start with some data, to date, we have more than 500 DeFi tokens and more than $75 billion as total value locked, showing a lot of traction for this on this world. So as financial services are a finite set, we have numerous tokens that have almost identical futures, but yet they have different market caps. And an example of it is the story of Uniswap, which suffered about the vampire attack. The classical vampire attack is composed by two steps. So as Uniswap is public code is public available, it's easy to replicate and clone the token. So this first step gives birth to different protocols, tokens such as Sushi Swap, Macaron Swap, Spaghetti Swap, Hot Dog Swap, Pizza Swap, and Ramen Swap. And the second step comes naturally. The second step of the vampire attack is just sucking liquidity from Uniswap to these new exchanges, hence the name vampire attack. But coming back to our story, all these tokens or assets with the identical features create a lot of confusion. So the big or small investor is not really aware which one of these are true projects or just rug pulls, because out of these tokens, only 2 of them survived, and all the others were just rug pulls. So in other words, we would like to understand or explain the price discovery mechanism in this DeFi world. What does it mean, price discovery? Price discovery is just the result of the buying and selling interaction in the cryptocurrencies market, that it will result and define the price of the underlying asset. So as a first attempt, as we said before, we will try to define business models, schema for different DeFi protocols in this world, and look at their treasuries and or revenues. And as a future work, we will try to understand the level of speculation in the cryptocurrency market using financial models. So I spoke about a lot about DeFi protocols, but which of these we're going to see today? We're going to see, first of all, decentralized exchanges, of course, DEXs, such as Uniswap and Balancer. And these decentralized exchanges are different from the classical order book centralized exchange because they provide, because they are formed by this liquidity pool where trades can swap peer-to-peer, and they are defined by the classical bonding curve. Then we will see the protocol for loanable funds, which allow lending and borrowing assets, as in the classical financial services. And examples of these tokens are Aave and Compound. And finally, we will see the asset managers protocols. Asset managers protocols basically allows investors to lock in their assets on these smart contracts, and these smart contracts will run just an algorithm with the only purpose to maximize the return of investments. So they will actually act as asset managers. So an example of these are Yearn Finance and Harvest Finance. So let's go quickly to the DeFi Treasuries and revenues. So here I show the historical revenue on the left y-axis in black, together with the historical market cap on the in red on the right y-axis, for the top tokens by revenue for each DeFi protocol. So Uniswap for decentralized exchanges, Aave for the lending protocols, and Yearn Finance for the asset management protocols. So what we can see here is that the black curve has almost identical trend of the red curve, but it's lagged by some delta t time. And in this case, we can, as a takeaway message, we can see that investors seems to react from the market cap movements, which is kind of counterintuitive. But we can see that users of this protocol, by looking at the growth or decrease of the market cap, they react by using more or less these protocols, affecting their revenues. And so how these revenues are defined in these protocols, we will look at them now. So we define schemas for these three kind of DeFi protocols. And we will look on them how they built, how the business model works. So first of all, we will look on this schema for decentralized exchanges, which the main actor is the smart contract in this case, called also liquidity pool, where the assets will be locked. And of course, there will be some bonding curve depending on the tokens that we are taking us in consideration. And as a first agent, we have a liquidity provider on the left, which is willing to provide some liquidity, in this case, DAI with a pair with Ethereum, in exchange of some fee, and it will receive some LP tokens. These LP tokens are proof that this LP liquidity provider can redeem his tokens. So on the right side, we have the second agent, which is who is the trader, who is willing to trade some DAI tokens in exchange of some Ethereum tokens by paying some fee. And this fee will go through the liquidity pool, and a percentage of this fee will go directly to the treasury, defining this revenue stream or cash flow. So following the decentralized exchanges business model, and very similar actually for lending protocols, we have as a central actor, again, the smart contract. So the lending pool in this case, where the assets are locked. And on the left side, we again have one agent who's willing to provide some lending asset to gain some interest. In this case, we don't have the LP tokens, but we have the IOU tokens. But they have the similar functionality where the lender can use them to redeem his own asset. So for each borrowing, this lender will gain some interest rate from each borrow. And the borrower is the second agent in this case, who has to over-collateralize his loaned asset. Why over-collateralized? Because we don't have KYC information here, and we want to hedge credit risks. Also because the crypto market right nowadays is still super volatile. And once the borrower has finished it by using this loan asset, we'll have to pay back this asset by adding some fee. But again, a percentage of this fee will go directly to the loanable fund treasury, and the rest will be split pro rata on all the lenders on this lending pool. And finally, we have the asset management protocols. In this case, we don't have two agents anymore, but we have only one agent. Well, we have the smart contract always as in the central role, but we have only one investor who's willing to lock his assets in this smart contract that in this case is called also Vault. And this Vault runs an algorithm or strategy which can be, for example, a staking or lending or providing liquidity to different tokens, to different protocols. Or it can be a combination of that. But the goal of it is just to maximize the return of investment. And hence, the investor will yield some more assets. And a percentage of this yield, it will go to the asset management protocols. So to conclude, we can have a generalized view of the business model schema for the different DeFi protocols. We can have like always one or two agents. And the central actor in this case is always the smart contract in this case. And we have an investor which is willing to provide some liquidity in exchange of some interest rate. And a user in the right who in exchange of some financial service, which can be lending or trading or swapping, has to pay some interest rate fee that has to be split pro rata between investors, and a percentage of it has to go to the DeFi Treasury. So to conclude, today there is multiple DeFi tokens, but yet we don't have a clear way to evaluate them. The goal is to provide a first short paper about different DeFi protocols, business models, and treasuries. And we have analyzed revenues and market cap trend for the most important tokens for DeFi protocols. We provide the business model taxonomy for 3 types of DeFi protocols. And finally, we provide a generalized schema to analyze their cash flow. So that's all. Thank you for your attention. And if there is any question, I'm there.